Drum roll. Psh. All right, we are up. What's going on, guys?
Hawke.
Yes.
Happy days.
Yes. We're going to talk. We're going to talk USA swimming, and all of a sudden, straight up into the comments section, boom! USA swimming is stupid. Bang! Straight into it.
I love that there's 3 Aussies and we're talking about US swimming. I love that.
Yeah, I'm sure they're happy about it.
Straight up.
Well, 2 of us live in the US. We're halfway there.
I'm an American. I don't know about you. I've got citizenship, baby.
Well, I've got a green card.
They can't get rid of me.
I
own a gun.
I feel like so does everyone else, right? That's scary.
Yeah.
Okay, we won't get into that. We won't get into that discussion.
Kurt, lot happened on the last day. We didn't get a chance to really go over it. So let's
what
chat.
is like US nationals full stop? What a meet. Is it not one of the best domestic meets of all time? It's like it had everything. Hits, misses, drama, epic swims, probably everything except the world record. Outside of that, you couldn't have asked for anything more. But yeah, just finished on that final night to start with. And wow, the GOAT. Katie Ledecky comes back again, that 1500 freestyle, 6th fastest performance ever. The meet that she had set the tone from the get-go, didn't she? That 800 freestyle, 807, that was the 3rd fastest swim in history. She now has, the 15 fastest times in 1500 history. Took out the 400, which for us was probably a little bit of a fizzer in the end, only going 4 minutes. And obviously runner-up in the 200 the next day off that. But she's where she needs to be right now, isn't she? And you take a look at that 1500 and just crazy stuff. Like what she's under 1530. There's only one woman that's ever been under 1540. Yeah. And she's gone under 1530, multiple times. So just a testament to how good she is.
Bit of a theory on her 400 freestyle. Like we were all saying, she's definitely going to get under 4 minutes. Do you think that there's obviously because it's building, there's pressure, Summer McIntosh, Titmus, her, it's going to be, a crazy race. Do you think she wanted to go in there not as much pressure? Like I feel like going into a world championships as a world record holder is so much more pressure, and her not going under 4 minutes, I think it's like she's just not showing her cards in that 400. I don't think. I think she actually, I don't know. I had a bit of a theory that she maybe backed off just a little bit, just to take the pressure off a little bit coming into that world championship, because there is going to be a lot of pressure around that 400 swim. So I thought I was a bit surprised she didn't go under 4 minutes. But whether that was, tactical or whatever, I just thought from what we saw in the 15, the 8, I thought she was going to go under 4 minutes for sure. But she might surprise us. I just thought maybe she just took the pressure off a little bit. Theory.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about pressure, right? Like, we saw pressure, right? Whenever you're in lane 4 in a final, like everyone says, well, that's the pressure lane, right? And I get that, but you still got to perform in any other lane that you're in. And Katie's going to have to go to the World Championships and still perform. It doesn't matter what lane she's in or who she's racing against. She's got to go out there and get it done, right? And so, like, pressure ultimately comes down to what you put on yourself. It's not what other people put on you, So I think Katie wants to win, and she's going to put that pressure on herself to go out there and perform at the World Championships. I don't think you can control that at a meet like this where you say, well, back off a little bit. Like, to me, that doesn't make any sense. It's just like she's going out there and racing as hard as she can. Now, what it suggests to me is the further she went up, the better she got, it seems like. Yeah. So it just seems like she did a lot of work. Now, once she rests and gets a little bit more taper under her belt, that's when those shorter distances will come on. But to say that she controlled the pressure, I think that's reading into it too much.
Yeah. I just love to see her emotion. Like you saw when she hit the wall, you saw that she got under 15-30. Mate, that was a big slap down on the water. And I think she knows the amount of work that she's been doing in the pool. And when that taper hits come Worlds, I think it is going to be on in 4, 8, and obviously 15. So
why'd she decide to pull out of the 2?
Well, she hasn't summoned in the last couple of Worlds. In my personal opinion, I think she's starting to phase it out individually. You keep it in there primarily because the relay needs you. You're still the backbone. You're the veteran in what's a very young relay, and you can still deliver a world-class 200. And also, the 200 is a brilliant training tool for your 400 and your that turn of speed, 400, 800, 1500 as well. So I don't think she'll ever give it up. But in international competition, big-time meets, worlds, I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't drop the 200 from Paris next year either.
Interesting. Okay.
Women's 200 IM. And what more can we say? Kate Douglas, what a meet. We knew she was good. Did we know she was this good? A 2:07.09, beats the world champion Walsh, 6th fastest swim in history, 2nd all-time American, just behind, Ariane Kukos in a floaty suit back in 2009. And, put that in with the 52.57 free. And this is a swimmer that you just can't take your eyes off.
Yeah. Megs, what do you think about her?
Yeah, I think she's pretty exciting. I think so. Like 2:07 is definitely not mucking around. And I think she's actually only going to get a little bit better, like more international experience. I quite liked her. I think she's pretty exciting, and to see kind of the relief after that 200 IM, she was pretty happy about it. So, I think she's a hard worker, and I quite enjoy watching her as an athlete.
Yeah, it's incredible the kind of the events she leaves on the table. Like she's got a choice of really anything. She's kind of like a Michael Andrew. Like he could go a 200 IM or he could go a 50 free. It's like, what do you leave on the table on that day? She's the same way. She left the 50 free on the table. She was the opposite of Michael. So yeah, she's so versatile. It's incredible. I actually put something up on my Instagram last night where I said, it'd be interesting to see a dual meet between Virginia and St. Peter's Western. You get the St. Peter's Western girls against the Virginia girls. I mean, how epic would that be? We talk about dual in the pool, US and Australia. What about like a club dual meet? That'd be fantastic.
That'd be pretty fun. I think Douglas is a great example of that next generation of swimmers, and we've discussed it here before, but who just doesn't care. 200 breaststroke, 200 IM, 100 freestyle. They're pulling in all these wild mixes now, and it's just fantastic to watch. You see Alex Walsh, the world champs, he finishes runner-up, 2:07.89. There's not 10 women in the entire history of the sport that have swum faster than that. So it wasn't a bad time. She wasn't too far off her best. But then you throw in this at Worlds, like Summer McIntosh right there, Kaylee McEwen.
Yeah.
It's on. And then you look at Ohashi. She hasn't been sub 208 in 6 years, the Olympic champ. Maybe that teenager from China and Yinting. But I think the 200 IM is between those 3 or 4. What a great race that's going to be. It's fantastic.
Megs, have you ever had a teammate that has been your main competitor, your main rival?
Not a team. No, a little bit like domestically. I used to swim against Siobhan Keane, so she was probably maybe 3rd or 4th in Australia. So we used to have some good battles. And then when Steph Rice used to swim a little bit of backstroke, she could swim a good 200 backstroke. And I was always hoping she didn't really concentrate on that 200 backstroke because she was good. She was really good. So we had some good, some good duels in racing, in training. Sorry. So
you think that's the way Alex Walsh feels? Maybe oh man, I hope she picks the 50 free today. I hope she stays away from the 2 IM. I don't know.
There's no way she's staying away from the 200 IM now. That's a premium gold medal chance, at Worlds and in the Olympics now, and they can both drop it. But yeah, 206 is definitely on its way. Men's 200 IM, mate, this dude, Carson Foster, this is a leader. This is the guy. This is the guy that you put and get behind. It's how you start the meet. It's how you end the meet. And he was just a star on the men's side, was he not? He takes it out, 156.19. He's only half a second off his personal best that he did getting runner-up at World Champs last year. And then the flip to that, Shane Casas, that just had a bomb of a meet, was just race after race, just getting owned. And then he just finds a way to the wall, a 157.47. And it wasn't pretty, but he got there and he makes the team after what's probably been one of the most brutal weeks of his life. And in saying that, he's 2 seconds off his personal best of a 155.2. And yeah, Trenton Julian third there, who didn't have a good meet either. But this makes another mouth-watering international clash in this 200 IM. It is one of the most open races, I think, not just at Worlds, but Paris next year as well.
Yeah,
that's the clip. That's the clip right there. You know, by the way, that's going to get clipped and edited, and we'll put Shane Cassis laying back in the pool on that one. And he did, didn't he? Poor guy.
No, but
a testament to his character. Sorry, Meg, just to interrupt. To when nothing's going your way, when all you're getting is the dud cards, and you just can't. You're trying harder, and because you're trying harder, everything's just falling to pieces. Everything you try is not working. To finally get the win and get on there, I think that was a great stepping stone for him. To know that you can do it when you're not firing is going to be huge for his confidence.
And I think it's a really good kind of point for younger swimmers that just because your first swim isn't a PB or isn't amazing doesn't mean you have to throw your whole meet away. So anyone who was watching that US trials, he swam his best race, or maybe not his best race, but his best race of the week came on his last swim and he made the trial. He made the team. So just because you have a bad race or don't do a PB or don't make a final doesn't mean you throw it away and have a really negative mindset. I think he was really good at, pushing it all aside and going, okay, I've got one shot. The pressure was on him for sure, on himself, to make that team. And big props to him. He stood up and like you said, it wasn't pretty, but got the job done. And I'm sure he learned a lot about himself through that whole week. Would have been stressful.
Yeah, it was an interesting race because I kind of presumed that Carson was going to win it, right? Like I just gave him that win from what he'd been doing all week, and my eyes were completely fixed on Shane Cassis, just like watching lane 8 from start to finish. I was critiquing everything that he was doing, and then the last 50, I'm like, okay, you're right there, buddy, at the 150. Now let's finish this together. I'm going to hold your hand. Let's go. And I'm just pulling him in. I don't know if he felt that, but I was riding him like a horse, come on, whipping him, and yeah, he got his hand on the wall. It was beautiful. And, like you said, it's really – sometimes you just got to overcome yourself and the moment, it's not about making a team. It's not about, doing what's expected. It's just about overcoming yourself at some point. And I'm sure before he got onto that block, at some point during that day, he looked himself in the mirror and said, buddy, hey, mate, you got one shot here. Like, this is the one. Like, let's go. He just looked himself in the mirror, and you could tell he just dug so deep on that one. So good for him. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I think those in the comments were thinking like Leon's got a fix on this 200. No. This is not the 400. The 200 is still up for sure. Leon's they're not going to hand it to him. Carson's right there. Shane at his best can take it. For sure. And then you've got the Brits like Dunk Scott is obviously going to make an appearance back again. You saw that final in Tokyo. It was insane on the wall. Wang Shun's going to be back for sure, you think. And then what about Tom Dean? I know we don't have Sonny on here, but, mate, Tom Dean's starting to think, mate, this 200 IM it's an open race, and I want a piece of the action as well. He's starting to close it in. So, yeah, don't think Leon's got this one sealed up right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's why we swim.
I think he's going to be the favourite, though, absolutely. But
sure.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting.
800 freestyle. We talk about Carson. If he was number 1 for mine, the number 2 in the men, Bobby Fink. Again, just like delivered, swim after swim, a 740.34. He's less than a second off his lifetime best, and his lifetime best is the 7th fastest time in history. And we've spoken up this 800 for a long time, off the back of what happened at Aussie trials with Sam Short and that next generation of swimmers coming through, and this just adds to it as well. If you take a look at like the top 10 quickest 800 times in history, and you see, the top 4 are pretty much Floaty Suits and Sun Yang, and you can see the stick mark between the next 5 that aren't too far off, but you're talking like Paltrineri, Fink, the Germans and like Wellbrook and Martins, Romanchuk from Ukraine, and then Sam Short. This is going to be a great race in Worlds and in Paris. And again, super open, one of the most open ones coming down that final 50. Any of those guys, can take it out on form.
Yeah, Bobby was a bit of a standout, I think, on the men's side, like 2 US records in the 1500 and the 800. So he was definitely on form, and I think he's kind of stood up in that meet, you know, to lead. I think the men's side needed a little bit more spice. I think it's pretty spicy in the women's. So the men, you know, Bobby Fink's stepping up. I mean, he was always going to step up, but I feel like he's trying to push, you know, the US team to come on, boys, like let's get it going, kind of get that momentum drive into next year. So yeah, 740 is pretty quick, and that 800 at Worlds is going to be nice to watch as well.
Yeah, Bobby Fink threw in the whole. I didn't expect that at the end, you know, in the interview, and I was like, I'm beyond that with him now. I expect it from him. Like he's just a performer. Yeah. He's going to show up. He's going to go. He's going to give it everything, and he's going to swim fast. So if any of these guys that you just mentioned, Kurt, are thinking that Bobby Fink isn't going to be there at the end, they got another thing coming. That guy's going to be there. It's going to be a fight. It's going to be a dog fight. So yeah, I'm excited about this. Actually, there's so many guys now in this 800 that can have a crack at this, and they're all gamers. They all love a good little wrestle. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting event.
Who thought the distance could be exciting, right? So,
yeah. Well, the way Fink swims, it makes it exciting. That last 50, you better have some distance because he's coming and he's coming fast. And and if you're not feeling it, he will own you, like we saw at the Olympics, where he obviously won the 8 and 15. Women's 53, and I know Hawke be stoked with that, but Abby White's 27 she is in December, you know, a 24 flat, 13th fastest time in history, just 0.03 off Simone Manuel's US record. And there's only 10 women in history that have gone sub 24. For her to do that off the back of her sub 53 in the 100 free that she did in the heats, what a meet by her, what a meet by the veteran.
27, mate, veteran. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Dara Torres won a silver medal at the Olympics in the 50 at 41. 27, she's a puppy. She's got years to go. Yeah, God, you're writing her off already. 27. Jeez, I
don't see veteran as a negative word, but I'm just saying in the context, especially of this Team USA now, where you're getting 16, 17, 18-year-old girls in there. 27 is you know, that's getting on.
Yeah,
Do you reckon she would have been a little bit annoyed going like 24.00? Were you ever annoyed when you swam and you went like 00? I was always like, damn.
Yeah, I think if you have that goal of like, I just want to see 23 on the board, and then you get the 00s, you're like, damn, you know.
23.99 is super sweet. Like 24.00 is fast, and she had a great race, but 23.99 is sweet.
Yeah. Brett's calling 4 more Olympics for Abby. Yeah, Abby's going to be around for a while. All right, we're talking veteran. Yeah, she's going to be around. No, 24.00. She's got speed again, which is good. She's always had it, you know, but she's been a little off the last few years. But man, she was back to her best. And I think we've seen some of that top end speed short course. Like she's always been really good underwater. She's been good off the walls, you know, off her starts, things like that. But to see her carrying her speed now on top of the water, like she's really getting it together with this new pro group out at Cal, and Dave Durden and working with him, and maybe swimming with the boys is helping her. I don't know, but it seems like she's got this new lease of life, and she's definitely connecting that short course speed that she had. Another girl who's connecting her short course speed, Smaliga, like Olivia. She's always been brilliant short course, and no, she's been decent long course. Don't get me wrong, but like they're swimming PBs. They're swimming faster than they've ever swum, and so that's cool to see, you know.
No, definitely. And, you know, what's more inspiring as a professional swimmer than swimming faster than you've ever swum before? Yeah. Nothing's going to pump you up, especially as you age as well. Those PBs get so much harder to crack. And that's only, I guess for her, it means you're on the right track as well. So pump for her. And then the flip side of that with Gretchen Walsh, you know, and just the breakout star on the women's side wasn't just a crazy meet for her, and caps it off. A 24.31 in that 50, just ahead of Kate Douglas and Smaliga as well. And mate, Walsh, and she came in, and Sonny said it, like this was her meet. It was all leading to this, and she didn't disappoint.
Yeah, I'm telling you, mate. Virginia versus St. Peter's Western. That's the dual meet right there, man. These Virginia women, the St. Peter's. Let's get it together.
I reckon St. Peter's.
You think St. Peter's would win that?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Wow.
That'd
You,
be
you,
nice
you don't
one.
watch a lot of American short course swimming, do you?
I don't watch yards for a reason, so.
Oh wow.
How about, then, Hawke's favourite, men's 50 freestyle.
Bam.
Bill gets it, 21.5. Alexi obviously won the 100, 21.63. And then Michael Andrew won 100th, 21.64.
Well, let's talk about
Did you think it'd be that quick?
I was
Did you think it'd be
hoping.
that slow?
I was hoping it'd be that quick. You know, they did really well. Like, look, 3 guys at 21.6 or better. You know, that's good. That's good swimming. It's not the fastest in the world that we've seen, but for the American men to get back in that realm of being in the top 5 is really good. That's where they needed to be. So yes, I thought it was great. And again, I thought Ryan Held did his job. And I said this after the 100. I said, like, I'm worried about Ryan Held not believing in himself when he's in lane 4 because he's good enough to win these things. And that's what he did. He nailed his start. That's the thing that sets up the 50. You nail that start. He got a beautiful entry. He carried his speed really well. Okay. He came out of his breakout and he got up onto his tempo really well. And he just maintained. He maintained. I think he was trying, like you could tell he was like really digging in that 50, like maybe a little too much dig, but you know what? He got the job done. When you set it up that well up front, you know, you can hang on. And Michael Andrew was certainly catching him because Michael did not get a great start. But then on the other side of that, you got Alexi, who, you know, popped a PB and got his hand on the wall and did what he needed to do. So those first 2 guys did the job. They're in a competitive situation now for Worlds. They'll be fighting for medals. Still got a little ways to go before they can contend for that gold, but they're putting themselves in the mix for possibly silver or bronze or even a solid finish in the A final. So, yeah, they're positioned well right now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, and obviously with Michael Andrew, and don't worry in the comments as well, we'll finish with Michael Andrew and the whole 50s and that entire thing. Before we get to Michael, we'll just go through firstly stars of the meet for you guys on the women's and men's side. Who for you?
I think Tori Husk was a bit of a standout, and Regan Smith, I think, for me on the women's. Obviously, Regan Smith, you know, she had such a good meet. You know, with the Sun Devils and she had a little bit of pressure for her to make that 200 backstroke. She's missed it the last couple of years. So for her, and there's always this hype between her and Kaylee. So there's one thing talking about what's going to happen at Worlds, but you've got to do the trials first. So I was really happy to see her swim really well. And, you know, she said, I watched an interview with Regan, and she said that she's, you know, her and Bob are still working out her taper. So, you know, it's definitely building it, and I think she's only going to get better. She go 203.8 US record in that 200 back. So, and Tori Husk, you know, pretty quickest 100 fly this year. And those top 3 women in that 100 fly was actually faster than I thought. So Tori Husk, good to see her, you know, claim that after that 100 free. Good to see her claim that 100 fly, and the fastest in the world this year. So those 2 probably for me and the women were definitely a bit of a standout. Of course, the GOAT, Ledecky, but that was kind of expected.
Yep.
Standouts for me were the American women. You know, like I think the women showed up and put together a very, very competitive unit. You know, if not the best in the world, right? Like this is a team across the board that can contend for gold medals in multiple events, and the stars who we expected or wanted to show up showed up, right? Like Meg's just mentioned a couple just there, but there's others, right? Like you always, Ledecky's the leader of that unit, right? But like they showed up and basically said, you know, we've been talking about the Australian women a lot and how strong they are. American women basically said we're match for match here. Like we're just as good, if not better, than the Australian women. So this matchup at Worlds is going to be epic with these women going head to head. And most of those events, you know, the Americans are strong, and you have a strong Australian, most of them, right? So like these matchups here are going to be pretty epic. So yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see who comes out on top. And I think the US women, in a way, outshine the men, right? Like I think the Australian women outshine the men right now. You know, that's not to say that the US men don't have their spots, but the women are very strong right now. The Australian women are very strong. Like I said, again, I think, you know, you got your Virginia and your St. Peter's Western, like you've got these units, you know, you've got your Michael Bowl unit, you've got your unit at ASU, you know, so like each American team has their units, the Australians have their units, they're coming together, they're going to put on nations caps, and they're going to compete as a nation against each other. I think that's going to be an epic battle with the women's side. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought for mine, the women, obviously the GOAT, Ledecky. It's hard in the moment when she just continues to deliver swims. You just, like Meg said, you take them for granted, and it's not until she's gone that you're going to look back and be like, damn. A bit the same with Thorpe and a swimmer of the generation, and Phelps as well. You don't realise how good they are until they're gone. Katie Douglas, just for her program and what she can do. Regan Smith for her times. Gretchen Walsh for stepping up and her breakout meet. But two swimmers I really think, and I feel a little bit sorry for them, in the whole rigmarole of everything that happened in the meet, were the two breaststrokers, Lily King and Nick Fink, were both outstanding and swam lights out. And firstly, for King to do the triple against, you know, and in some great times as well. And for Fink, who in that one, like 50 was fantastic, but he saved the day in that 100. There would have been Team USA members, especially coaching and staff, they would have been literally shitting bricks before that men's 100 breaststroke final, not knowing. And then he steps up. Mate, the dude works full time, and he still steps up and bust out these swims. Like, loved it for sure.
I'm going to give you a name. I'm throwing a female name out there that I think was just brilliant. And again, this is the testament to the US. It's the way it always is, right? Like Alex Shackle comes out as a young, I think she barely turned 16, or she might be 15, 16, right? Young girl. Again, my roommates from college, his daughter, Nick Shackle, love you, buddy. Ali Shackle, his wife, they both swam at Auburn with me. Brilliant people. And they're up there at Carmel Swim Club, and they're young kids, both of them. But Alex actually made the team. So I'm going to give her a shout out. Fantastic swimming. And again, it's just this is how the US do it. You know, it's this new breed coming in all the time and taking over. And I think she's got a massive future, that girl. So talented. So let's watch out for her for sure.
And yeah, and also Thomas Hellman as well at 16 years of age, 100, 200 fly. To do that against, you know, racing against your idols under that kind of pressure, it was just wild. That was like a meet he'll never forget for sure. And hopefully one of many national teams for him in what looks set to be a pretty impressive career, or way to start one, that's for sure. From hits to misses, no bigger misses than Caeleb Dressel and Michael Andrew for the men. But I just felt for Claire Kazan as well. She was so close, and read that story about her being hospitalised in the lead up to nationals. I think she'll be back next year, and I'd put my money on her being on that Olympic team for sure, in some way, shape or form. She's just too good not to be there. And then also not forgetting Emma White as well, the Olympic silver medalist in that 400 IM, being disqualified and not getting a start as well. So they're probably two big misses in the women's.
Megs, you got any misses?
A few. And I don't think like Caeleb Dressel is a miss though. Like I feel like we didn't really know. Did we think he was actually going to come out and swim 47? Like I feel like no one really knew where he was coming from. So I think I wasn't surprised to see him either swim slow or not be there. I don't think he was at his best. So I think, you know, obviously a big miss is Michael Andrew, and I feel like that's, you know, a pretty big subject that we're about to talk about as well. But I mean, at the end, also talking about Dressel, you know, good to see him that he had a chat at the end, and you know, if he looks happy, he's swimming happy. I feel like that's nothing else that anyone can kind of comment on. Good to see him that he spoke to the media at the end. Yeah, but I don't know if I'd call him a miss, because I just wasn't really expecting him, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. You know who was a miss was Brooks Curry. Brooks Curry swam on these gold medal winning relays for the US, and I think he was one of those big expectation type guys of like he's going to go in there and he's going to win the 100, right? Like he swam in the B final of the 100 free. He swam in the B final of the 200 free. Like to me, that was a huge miss, and he's a gamer. He's a baller. So like when you put a US cap on that guy, he's dangerous. So for him not to be on that relay, I think that hurts the US. And to have that little bit of experience again, like that whole relay, I think Kurt, you mentioned this, like you look back at that relay for the US for the last World Championships, last Olympics, and there's not a single person who swam those on that championship, is actually going to this World Championship. So it's a whole new relay, no experience, very fast, right? Like 4:47s, but no experience on this international stage. I think they could have used Brooks Curry. He swam fast enough in the B final to kind of get himself on that team, but didn't get the job done when he needed to. So that, to me, that was a huge miss.
Yeah, like I'm excited to see what this men's team can produce because it's pretty young and inexperienced, and without their big stars there, it's going to be interesting to see who steps up. From that end of the meet, Dressel speaks finally after 12 months.
There's light.
There is light. A long time coming. He talks to the media for the first time. Did that all in at the end of the meet in the mix zone there. Takeaways from it. It was about a 10-minute interview. My first thoughts, and I'll lead it off, it should have just been done at the start of the meet. If he does it at the start of the meet and just sets out all those questions and tells everyone where he's at, then it takes all the pressure, all that expectation off. Everyone knows where he's at, and you can just get on with business rather than just deflecting it until the end. But that's just my personal opinion. Then the takeaways from the interview is brilliant. If you see the interview on YouTube, go on YouTube, watch the 10 minutes. It's great viewing. It's a great insight into what he's been through in the last 12 months. A few takeaways from me from it. First of all, when he left Worlds in Budapest last year, in his mind, he was done. He was never swimming again. It was over. He was retired, and he was. And I think that's the way that he frames it, and I think that's the way it's framed. He's gone back to his farm, and he never wanted to swim again. And then through obviously through therapy and through time away from the pool, he's got the spark back at least. And there was one quote in the middle there which I really loved, and my biggest takeaway: I didn't need to, I wanted to. And I think that was what flipped the switch for me, was like all that pressure on him, and every day waking up that this is my life. I have to swim. I need to swim. Swimming's everything to me. It's all I've ever known. It's all I've ever done. And that's like, no, you don't need to do this. Like, do you actually enjoy doing it? Do you want to do it? And obviously he didn't want to. And the fact that he's flipped it now and he wants to be back there, you can see he's glowing. He's got the smile there as well. And that revelation while he's on his ride-on mower there on his farm, if I never come back to swimming, I'll be okay. And when he settled with that, then that gave him the freedom to come back out and just get back. And I'm happy that he did that press conference or that media call. I'm happy that he's back swimming, and the sport's better for having him back and having him wanting to be back, not just back for the sake of being back. I think that's most important, and just really excited to see if he can get back to what he was. If he doesn't, it is what it is. But you wouldn't write him off, would you?
No. I think to be honest, like that interview was good, but I feel like I didn't get too much out of it that I probably wasn't expecting from Caeleb Dressel. Like he answered them, but he didn't give you too much. Like he answered, about a few things, but I don't think the really tough questions were there. And I don't think he went in depth of what actually happened last year. And maybe he never will. Maybe we will just never know what actually happened, and I just feel like he brushed over a couple of things and was trying to keep it, which I like. He was trying to keep it positive. He's obviously trying to, be a little bit more positive about swimming. But I'd love to see maybe a bit more in-depth conversation with Dressel about certain things. And I think people can learn, absolutely. Like, I think young kids can absolutely learn a lot from Dressel. And, you know, swimming is not everything. First of all, he's a human, right? He's a human before an athlete. So I think mental health is a big thing. And I feel like I'm with Kurt, like it should have been done at the start, because then there was just all these questions and he was getting probably, you know, so much attention about what, you know, he was getting a little bit of not media hate, but like a bit like, why aren't you answering any questions? So take that all away. Just do it at the start. If there's no pressure on him and he's just swimming because he's happy, then there's no reason to talk. If you're happy, then you should be happy to talk about it. But I'd love to see, you know, I'd just love to see a bit more in depth. I feel like he brushed over it. It was a good interview, and because we hadn't heard from him, but I'd love to see a little bit more in depth. We love Dressel, you know, like he's the most interesting character. He's the best, you know, the best swimmer on the planet. Like, why not, you know, dive into that brain and see what he can produce? And I'd love to listen to him all day.
Well, that's the thing is, like, I think you touched on something there too, is like, we don't love Dressel because he's a fast swimmer. We love Dressel because he's got a beautiful personality. He's a really nice man. He's a really cool guy. I'm sure he's a brilliant teammate. I'm sure he's an incredible husband. I'm sure he's a great son to his parents. Like, we love him for those reasons. And my complaint was, I haven't heard him speak. He's not saying anything, and that's the part that I was missing. I don't want to just see him swim. I love listening to him talk. The moment he opened his mouth in this interview, I was like, oh, there he is. Like, there's the guy that I love. You know, like, it was just like he's embracing and he's warm. Like, he pulls you in. Even though he was kind of avoiding some answers to give you the depth, I didn't want the depth. I just wanted him to talk. My whole complaint this time was I haven't heard Caeleb say anything, and then he says something. You think I'm going to complain about that? I loved it. It was brilliant. Give me nothing, you know, just talk, because he's such a beautiful human, right? Yeah. And I think that's why the sport loves him, and I think that's why the sport needs him. Like, he's so good for America. He's so good for swimming. He's very personable. He's very likable, and he didn't have to say too much. I'm not complaining at all with what he said. Don't tell me what happened in depth on the pool deck right now. Like, maybe give that time where you sit with Rowdy.
Save it for the book. Save it for the book.
Yeah, save it for the book. Yeah, save it for another time. Like, there was certainly a reason why at that particular time you decided to leave the World Championships. You know, I wouldn't have done it at that point in time, but he did it, and there was a reason he did it. And at some point that'll come out. It didn't need to happen in this 10-minute interview at the pool deck here. Like, all that needed to happen is exactly what happened. He just needed to speak and say, yeah, you know what? I'm not where I want to be, but I'm back, and I'm ready to kind of have some longevity now. Brilliant. Thank you. That's it. I'm happy. I'm very, very happy. That's it.
We love Dressel. And I feel like he is, like, he brings a lot of light and kind of energy. Like, you speak to probably any teammate, and I don't think anyone has anything bad to say about him. He kind of is that person, like, that has that aura that just kind of, I'm sure he walks into a team meeting and lifts everybody up without even, you know, saying anything. So for him to kind of just say something, it's a start. And I feel like he's got that, I don't know, he just kind of just captures you. Like, as soon as you saw him on the screen talking, I was like, okay, yeah. You know, like,
he kills you. He kills you with kindness. He's one of those guys. It's like, oh, what? You're a good-looking bloke and you're nice. Ah, damn you.
You have everything.
No. Now, in fairness to competition and athletics and where he's going, he's not back. If we're confused by this, Caeleb Dressel's not back. Caeleb Dressel's swimming again, but to say that he's back is a far cry. We saw glimpses, right, of like some hope that he's back, and we know what he's capable of, right? But when you all of a sudden put yourself in a situation where you're standing next to David Popovich at the World Championships and the whole or at the Olympic Games, and the whole world is staring at you and expecting certain things, that's when you're truly back. That's the competitive side of what we do here, right? Like, you put yourself in a room where there's 7 of the world's best swimmers and you're staring at each other, you're back then. That's when you know you're back, right? And I've been in those situations where I've been looking at a Gary Hall Jr., a Roland Schoeman, and everyone's saying like, hey, we're competing here for an Olympic title, right? Like in 5 minutes, we're walking outside and we're going to get it on. That's when you're back. Now, Caeleb Dressel's not back in that sense, but I'm glad he's swimming. I'm glad he's happy. And once he gets to that point where he puts himself in this competitive situation again, he's going to feel that pressure again. He's going to have to work through that, and he's going to have to make decisions at that point, right? And that's when you're truly back. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think he'd only been back swimming 4 months before this meet. If this is what it took for him to go to Paris next year and even draw out his longevity in the sport to maybe even LA, if he's loving it and he's enjoying it that much, then maybe it's all been worth it. But yeah, you're certainly right. It's just a blessing to see him enjoying his swimming and just having him at the pool and in the water. And I think now it's epic when you are a champion, when you know what it takes to get there. He knows what it takes. He knows the sessions that he has to do. And obviously physically as well, he's lost a lot of muscle mass. He knows he's got to go and lift some heavy shit. Like there's work to be done, and he knows that. And I think it's going to be very exciting. And the Olympics next year, I know it's still a long way away, but it wouldn't be the same if he wasn't, it'd take a bit of polish if the defending Olympic champ wasn't there in the 100, wouldn't it? And the fact now that he's a big chance of getting back there, and it's a new Dressel. It's a one that wants to be there. And could that take him up another level again, because he's got that pressure off and he's just buzzing, and he's just got that energy to burn now, and he's not doing it because he feels like he needs to, and he's got to do it for everyone else except for him. So I think that's very, very exciting for swimming fans throughout the world, including Popovich, who I'm sure is thrilled at the fact that, that he's back more than anyone else.
I'm sure I'm sure he wants to race. Like, I'm sure Popovich wants to race the best. And even Kyle Chalmers has said it as well. Like, Chalmers won, 2016. Then you've got Dressel 2020, 2021. And you've got Popovich, who's probably maybe the favourite for next year at this time, definitely. So I'd love to see those three guys, like three guys go absolutely at it in the 100 free and all at their best. I think you want to win the Olympic gold medal at your best, and everyone's there. So you can say that you are the best in the world for sure.
Yeah, so mate. I agree. Yeah. I was going to say with that is like, look, to see him speak and to see him smiling, wow, it was so good. It was so cool to see him walking around the deck and to see him interacting with his teammates and just to be on the pool deck. Wow, it was incredible. To see him swim 22.7 was absolutely miserable. I hated every second of it. It's not him, right? Like that to me is awful, and that's how he feels too. You could tell that in the interview. He was like, I wasn't happy with those swims. I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be talking. Yeah. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy with all of that. But Caeleb Dressel's not happy with 22.7, and I'm not happy with it either. It's not him, right? It's a shadow of him athletically, is what I'm saying. So he's got a lot of work. He's got to grind. He's got to punish. He's got to hurt. He's got to wake up sore in the morning. He's got to wake up and say, why am I doing this again? He's got to wake up and say, my God, I've never felt so bad in my life. Like, that's what he's got to go back to if he wants to get back to where we know he can be. He's so good. But if you don't go through that punishment for months and months on end, and you have that psychological hit where you're like, oh my God, why am I doing this? Not the walking around the pool deck, not the smiling, not the being with. That's the easy part. The hard part is the grind. And we've been through the grind. And that's where he's got to go. And that's what I'm saying is, like, to see him go 22.7 is not fun. To see him go 21 flat, woo, man, that's when I'm going to throw a party, right? That's beauty in action. So that's the difference, okay?
Yeah, he's definitely going to get into the grind, isn't he? And I think now he's going to get in the grind with a smile on his face. And
he was there for the jockey. He got excited about the jockey on the podium. I love that. I love to see him smile about a jockey. It was really funny.
No, good. Finally. And now we finish it off. Wow. Michael Andrew. I will go around with this as well. I'm a firm believer that things happen for reasons. And Michael missing this team obviously is at face value an injustice for him to what a phenomenal swimmer he is, but it also brings awareness to a massive fault in world swimming, that these 50s are not at the Olympic Games. And he now has an opportunity to champion that going forward. And it's not going to happen in Paris, but man, why can't it happen in LA? And I get his frustration. I understand it. And I'm on his side, but I didn't like his post on Instagram. And I didn't like that line where he was like, stoked to have qualified, asterisks for my third world championships, but whatever. Like, you didn't qualify, you know? The policy is the policy. That's what it was. You knew what it was coming in, and you didn't tick the boxes, unfortunately. Is the policy dumb? Yes, but the policy was the policy. The same with the selection policy for the world short course team, where the US is taking, you know, world record holders can't make the team because it goes to the long course swimmers. And all because it's targeted towards the Olympics. And why is it targeted towards it? Because the funding is for the Olympics. It's all tied to the Olympics. That's what matters every 4 years, love it or hate it. That's where US swimming, you know, that's their big bang. That's what they've got to put all their eggs into that basket for. And the only way you're going to fix this is to put the 50s in the Olympics. Why be racing the 50 form strokes at Worlds if they're not going to be at the Olympics? They're either in or out. Make a decision, get it on. And if I'm Michael Andrew, I'm on the phone tomorrow and I'm going straight there to World Swimming, and I'm calling up Anthony Irvin, who's on the Athletes Commission, and being like, dude, let's get this rolling right now. And then he's calling Brett Nowicki, the CEO of World Swimming, being like, what have we got to do to get these 50 form strokes into LA? What do you guys think?
I think a lot. I think a lot. Actually, I invited Michael Andrew to come on the show today. He said he was going out surfing, which I totally agree. He should go out surfing. But he did say he's going to come on the show, and he'll speak for himself in terms of a lot of this in the next week or so. So we'll get him on. We'll talk to him. We'll ask him. We can only kind of presume. Now, I will say this. I am under the assumption right now that Michael Andrew did not know that there was a change in the procedure of how you qualify for the meet. Now, I said that it was a couple of weeks before. Some people have said to me it was changed in January and it was posted in January. Why wasn't Michael Andrew informed of this change? I knew Michael Andrew was training for the 50s months and months ago because he was posting it on social media. So why didn't someone from USA Swimming reach out to the Andrews and say, hey, we changed the policy just to let you know that you can't qualify in the 50 fly anymore. So if you're training for that, you might want to adjust your training. Now, again, I'm speculating some of this stuff, but I'm telling you, it was my understanding that Michael Andrew and his father had no idea that the policy had been changed until, because he posted on social media after the 50 fly, hey, I just qualified for the world's team. I think somebody tapped him on the shoulder after reading that post and said, hey, dude, did you read the policy? Like, you didn't qualify. And then he was like, oh, what? Oh, now I've got to go. And now all the pressure's on for the 50 free. So, you know, he was training for the 50 free as well, and he didn't get it done there. Like, he missed by 100th of a second. But to say that he didn't do the training, I mean, come on. The guy went 21.6 in the 50 free, top 5 in the world. He went 23 flat in the 50 fly. He went under 27 in the 50 breast. I mean, come on. To say that he didn't do the training is stupid. He's so ridiculously fast. But there's something around this where Michael Andrew wasn't told that this policy had been changed, and I want to know why that USA Swimming isn't making an official announcement to let these athletes and coaches know, hey, this is the new policy. It's out there. Please read it, or email it to everybody, whatever the case.
And I think I feel like there's so many layers to this Michael Andrew kind of story, or whatever we're calling it, is because I feel like it's brought up that conversation of should those 50s be in Olympics, or because they're in Worlds, I absolutely agree that form strokes, you should be able to take the top first or second because they're in the World Championships, as if you wouldn't take those top swimmers. If obviously they're not in Olympics next year, so that's a bit of a different kind of argument. But I think also like the argument about bringing in the form strokes for 50s, is it going to make our sport better? Yes, because I feel like it brings a lot more attention, a lot more excitement. They brought in the 800 freestyle, the 1500 freestyle, men and women. So I feel like we talk about it every 4 years, and now we're having a conversation about it now again. I know the Commonwealth Games. So obviously the US aren't in the Commonwealth Games, but they have 4x50 form strokes as well. So they have form stroke 50s in the Commonwealth Games, and they as well at trials they do not pick the top first or second in those form strokes. You have to qualify in the hundreds, and I just don't get it. Why have them if you're not going to take the fastest person? If you have to double up on someone in the 100, they're going to swim a 50. It's not your fastest person. If you're there to win medals, and then that creates more sponsors, it creates more money into the sport. Absolutely, you got to put your fastest person forward. I feel like Michael Andrew got ripped off a little bit. He is kind of a bit of a scapegoat for changing that policy. And unfortunately, it had to. There's no way around it. It is that policy. That's what USA have. And unfortunately, if he went the times that he did in season, he would have made the team. That's like a swimmer's kind of life, right? If you went this or if you went that, I just think it's a hard one. I think it needs to be either changed, and that's a really hard thing. Do I think it's ever going to happen? Maybe we won't ever see it. But I think form strokes, I can't believe I'm saying form stroke 50s should be in the Olympics, but I absolutely do. I think it's more exciting. I care about the sport. I care about athletes. Make it exciting, make it more people talk about swimming, more sponsors, more money, make the sport bigger.
Yeah, well, Megs, let's put the Olympics aside for 1 second, because I think that's the pinnacle of our sport. We all know that. It always has
Absolutely.
been. But we're going to the World Championships, and we're competing for world titles. So to say that a world title shouldn't be regarded as a great thing, all these other people are going to compete for world titles in a few weeks. There's a championship being decided in the 50 breast, 50 fly, 50 back. They're going to hand out gold medals. Someone's going to become a world champion. That world championship then can go on to get sponsorship for that athlete, can feed them for a whole year, maybe into the future, can give them longevity, can boost their profile, can get them to say that they're a world champion for the rest of their lives, and maybe they can sell programming in the future and do clinics and things like. It has so many implications to become a world champion. And to say that we're just going to strip that away from you, all right, and disregard it, right? Why is the 50s being disregarded at the World Championships ahead of the 200 freestyle or the 1500 freestyle? We're going to say Katie Ledecky is the greatest of all time when she wins the 1500 freestyle. Well, someone's going to win the 50 back. Why can't they be the greatest of all time? It's a World Championships, and we're taking that away from these athletes. We're hurting their livelihood. We're hurting their professionalism, right? And that's where Michael Andrew is. He's totally a professional athlete, has been since he was 14 years old. He's the most professional athlete on the US team. There's no one more professional. He takes his gold medals off and gives them to kids, right? He signs every autograph. He does every interview. He turns up ready to race. He puts stuff on the internet that we can all learn from. Like, who's more professional, right? Like, I'm not saying he's better than anybody else, but this guy is so professional. So it's like, we're taking away this guy's livelihood, right?
But why have the 50s at the Worlds if you're not going to race them at the Olympics? Like, why don't we scrap them all then and not have the 450s and you're not allowed to do it? No, but the 50s are at Worlds, put them in the Olympics. And here's a hypocrisy in Fukuoka. So we go to Fukuoka. I'll give you an example. 100 freestyle, women's 100 freestyle. Say a Molly O'Callaghan or a Katie Douglas. They're going to win a medal in the 100 freestyle. Then they're going to win a medal in the women's 4x1 freestyle relay. Then they're going to win a medal in the women's 4x1 medley relay. Then they're going to win a medal in the mixed 4x1 freestyle relay. And then they're going to win a medal in the mixed 4x1 medley relay. So they're going to win 5 medals for doing the exact same race. 2 laps of freestyle.
But I feel like they added those. They added 4x1 medley relay, and they added the 4x1 mixed freestyle relay. So they've added new events, and yet they can't like they can't put those form strokes in the Olympics, or even the Australians with their qualifying as well. They didn't take anyone that won the 50 based on just the 50 form strokes. They were either swimming for a relay spot, or they already had made the team as well.
There's the other thing is like those events you just talked about, Kurt, is like you can't go to the US trials and say, hey, I'm going to go and try and qualify for the mixed medley relay here. I'm going to individually race and try and make the mixed medley. You're saying, hey, I'm going to go and try and win a world title in a 50 butterfly. All right, I'm going to go to the championships. I'm going to compete. I'm going to qualify, and then I'm going to swim in that individual event. The mixed medley is just like, look around and say, hey, who wants to swim right now?
Just because you're the best in the world at one event, 100 freestyle, 2 laps of the pool, that automatically, if you're in a superpower country like Australia or the United States, you could walk away with 5 medals for doing one thing really well. Like it doesn't make sense.
Well, it's like Emma McKeon, right? Like at Olympics, she walked away the most decorated Australian Olympian because there's so many relays. And I'm not saying she's not the best, but I'm saying that argument is really hard because there's so many relays now. Like there wasn't for Ian Thorpe or Susie O'Neill, there wasn't that many relays. So of course they're not going to get that many medals. And someone talked about funding. It was all about funding. Is it talking about funding those swimmers because we...
Oh, Megs is frozen. No, you know what it is? Anthony Irvin told me, hopefully she'll come back in a second. Anthony Irvin told me that there's caps at the Olympics. So they've capped the number of athletes that can compete at the Olympics, right? So like, per IOC, swimming is capped at this many swimmers allowed to come to the Olympics. And so that's why they can't add 50s of strokes because they're already bringing those relay swimmers. Like you've already qualified. So it's just like you're already on the team. You're not adding people. So if you would bring in the 50s, you'd be adding extra people, which would then take away from those IOC numbers.
No, spare me. This is where I want to be at the Olympics. Like in Paris next year, they've got breakdancing. So,
mate, have you tried breakdancing? Breakdancing's tough.
They've already had breakdancing in the Olympics for like the last 25 Olympics. It's called floor exercise in the gymnastics. You got Kenzo Shirai and Simone Biles doing a triple-double, not breakdancing on the ground. Like, leave me alone. It's 6 more races. Scrap breakdancing. Get these forms in there. Get them going. Has to happen.
Megs, you did freeze there. Someone was saying that they'd love for you to finish that point before you froze.
Oh, thanks, Oliver. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I think it was about the funding. Like saying that the reason that they can't take more people was because of funding. Yeah. And I think the funding has absolutely nothing to do with that because they're taking, 6th, 7th, 8th, nearly 8th if someone's not doing the relay. So I think they're taking 6th, 7th, and 8th in a relay. So they're actually funding that one person to swim maybe a heat swim. So that's one. They're having one swim. They're going all the way to Fukuoka for one swim. Whereas if Michael Andrew was in a 50, he'd be at least getting 3 swims. So if you're talking about funding and getting the most out of your money for each team, I think you're going to get more money spent and better quality than the one relay swimmer who's going to swim just one. They're going to swim one heat swim.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely insane.
Well, apologies out there to all the breakdancers that I've offended, but getting these form 50s in, it's not just it opens up the sport to a different kind of swimmer. And we've seen here with the likes of Caeleb Dressel that swum since he was 6, and every other swimmer that's, been the best in the world, most of them started 6, 8, and just been swimming nonstop the whole way through, and they've had to take breaks, and some of them have had to retire as kids or teenagers because it's just too much to handle. All of a sudden, you start getting all the 50 form strokes in, you're going to it opens it up to more swimmers that might start swimming at 16 or 14, or maybe I was great at athletics and then all of a sudden I was like, I went to the pool, I can do 1 lap butterfly because I've got this power, I've got this strength, and it opens it up to a more diverse group as well. More countries, more athletes. It's the excitement. It just ticks all the. It's a no-brainer. I just don't see what put all the caps aside. You want swimming to get it done. Mate, you need to call one of those. What do they have? An extraordinary Congress of World Swimming where they change it. Call an extraordinary Congress in Fukuoka or Doha, or you've got enough you've had 4 world championships in 4 years. Like, you're gonna have enough of them. Get it going. Yeah. And Michael Andrew needs to turn this negative into a positive. And the positive is he can be the champion. He can be the poster child with his following and what an incredible heart and communicator he is to get across to the non-swimming lovers as well that we need 50 form strokes at the big show. And he can do that. And I think, like I said, things happen for a reason. He's a very religious guy, and I hope that maybe, it's his God-given existence to be here to prove that, it's time for form strokes. This is what I was brought on this earth to do. 1, swim fast, and 2, create this awareness. Just one final point on him with that 50 free as well. Coming into Paris next year, the 50 free and the 200 IM on that new program for the Olympics are on the same night. They're only gapped between them by 1 women's 200 backstroke final. So at some point, he's going to have to make a choice between the 50 free and the 200 IM. Surely there's no way he can do both.
Yeah.
Surely he's not doing 200 IM. Surely.
Wow, shit, he's gone 155 in the 200 IM. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
why wouldn't he?
Have you seen that last 15 meters of his 200 IM? He actually
but you're talking about a swim that happened 2 years ago. You're telling me that he's not going to improve in 12 months? Like, yes, no. Look, I'm not going to judge anybody off what they did previously to say that that's all they're capable of. Like, you've shown me that you're capable of really fast swimming. Go out there and make improvements now and finish it off. So, yeah, I think he's absolutely capable of putting together a fantastic 200 IM. I also think that he could potentially be the fastest swimmer in the world in the 50 free. So, yes, he's got some decisions to make. Kurt, I want to say that that's the 10,000-foot view on, what has to happen to 50s at the Olympics and things like that. The smaller detail here is really what we need some answers on right now is, why was the policy changed? Because the policy was you win the 50 butterfly, you go to the World Championships. That was the policy. The policy got changed. I want to know why, first of all. And I got to stop presuming I know the answers to these things. So we do need to bring on somebody who actually knows. So why did you change the policy? When did you change it? Because I've heard various different times of when it was changed. And why wasn't it communicated to Michael Andrew or even people like myself who comment on swimming to say, hey, guess what, guys? I just want to make an announcement. USA Swimming changed the policy. So if you're thinking of going to the trials and winning an event, you're actually not going to go to the World Championships. So
was it changed? Do we have proof that it was changed?
Yeah, it was changed. It was changed, yes. So, absolutely in 13 and 15, if you won the 50 fly, you were a higher priority, right? Like, if you won the event. Now, not if you finish second. You win the event, you're a high priority. They changed the priority from, maybe, second or third priority to 6, right? So they moved it down the line to basically say that even if you win, you can't go, right? So that's basically the policy change. But again, Michael Andrew, from what I know, didn't know about the change in policy. I didn't know about the change in policy. It wasn't like it was this public announcement that went out to say that it got changed. And I think it just took people by surprise. So that's kind of like the smaller detail that I want to get to the root of the problem of here,
I think it's just a bit sneaky of USA Swimming to change it and not to tell anyone, because obviously no one knew about it. So I think that's the sneakiness and maybe a bit cheeky because obviously Michael Andrew didn't know, because he put it on his Instagram that he claimed that he won, and he's like, I'm going to the World Championship. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of looks a bit embarrassing for him. He's got a bit of a following, he does his YouTube stuff. So he obviously didn't know about that change. And yeah, I think I'd like to know why as well. But I just feel like he's just, a bit of a scapegoat there, that he's the person that got really unlucky in that change and he didn't know about it. I think if you change something, there has to be an announcement for that. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I would agree. Something of that magnitude where spots are on the line and you're training for specific events. Yeah, I think that needs to be a public announcement somehow. Like an email blast needs to go out, something updated on the website to say, hey, we made this change. Everybody go to the website and read it. Like, let us know. Like, it's a big deal. And again, we're talking about professional athletes now. Like, their livelihoods, their income Like this affects all of this stuff, so it should be communicated much better. And again, I don't have necessarily anything against USA Swimming. I'm probably not their favorite on their list right now, but who's speaking from USA Swimming? Can we get someone to come out and talk about this stuff? Like who's the spokesperson for USA Swimming? It's like there's no accountability on the outside. There might be some on the inside, but it doesn't seem like externally there's much accountability for. I mean, these questions are being raised. Somebody should be like, "Hey, I gotta front the media on this to get ahead of this." And it's like there's silence.
And also, I think the big question is like, why have them at trials if you're not going to pick it? Because what? Like, I've asked that at Australian trials. And then I said, why do they have some of these? And they said, because we need to crown an Australian champion. But they had it at trials as well. It's like, why have the 50s form stroke if you're not going to take them? What's the point? It's not Australian championships, it's trials. It's the same as US. Like, why have them? Like, I know it's a chance to race, but what's the point? Like, no one, if you're going to be the best at the hundreds, then you may as well just focus on that. And no one will be in those 50s. But, I just think it's a bit of a waste. Absolutely.
Here's a comment here. I'll do this. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of on Instagram if you want to direct message me. If you were a swimmer at this meet and you knew about the change before it and were aware of it, I'd like to know when you found out about it. I'd also like to know how they informed you about the change. So if you are one of these swimmers and I don't know who you are, please reach out to me on Instagram, direct message me to say, hey, Brett, I knew about the change. This is how I found out. And I'll gladly talk about it. But I haven't heard from anyone to say that they knew about this change and made adjustments to their training because of that.
Do you think it's the swimmers' responsibility or like coaches as well? Like coaches probably are going to know about more changes than the actual swimmers. Like I probably wouldn't have read any changes or contracts.
Coaches too.
Coaches knew too.
Yeah, if a coach knew, let me know when and how you knew. Yeah, reach out to me.
Absolutely.
Well, I know working on Australian Swimming Championships or age or all those, every meet they come out with a selection policy before, and we go through that with a fine tooth comb just to make sure we know what we're talking about and what's going on. I think just what's intriguing is when I'm intrigued to know when that change was made. And I don't think that's clear. And I'd be really intrigued to know when that change was made. How far out.
I also think, talking about silly things, I also think that Australia's A qualifying times are crazy. It's a silly process as well. to have faster times in the US, like the US are obviously the number one swimming nation. They win the most gold medals, the most medals, and they don't even have faster times.
Megs, are you trying to get me to start a fight with the US and Australia at the same time now? Is that what you're trying to do?
No, but I don't really understand. Like, I just don't get it. Like, USA are the number one. Everyone tries to, tries to be like the US. They're the top of the table. That the most gold medals. We've moved our trials, to try and copy the US because there were so many PBs, people going faster. But yet we're still implementing these crazy times, and some people are missing out on vital international experience because they got the FINA A Cup, but they missed the Australian time, and you're not taking them. Like, come on! Like,
who are we talking about? Who missed big time because they didn't make an A Cup?
Bowen Goff, 200 fly. He won the 200 fly. Josh Edward Smith got second in the 200 backstroke by 0.01. He missed the A. He got the FINA A. He's been 155. So it's just.
They're both on Australia 8 teams. They're going to get international experience. I remember Hawke's interview with Rowan saying they wanted to make it tough. They didn't want to make it easy to make this Australian team. They want to make it tough, and a bit of tough love.
Tough, right? Like you can win and you still can't go. Like, that's tough. There's tough, and then there's just stupid, I think. And you can say international experience, but is there more international experience? So you've got two kind of international experience. You've got stepping up next to, who's a 200 fly at Worlds. And then you've got 200 fly at, they're going to the TYR Pro Meet. There's different kind of pressure. There's different kind of racing experience. If you want to go to Olympics next year and have that behind you, you want to be swimming at high pressure international experience rather than like, you know, Australia A, they're going to the US, they'll get some sun, they'll get a little bit of experience, but that's not the experience of high pressure world championships. You've got the whole team, you've got everyone. I think there's definitely different. But that just kind of annoys me. Like if we're going to copy America because they're the best at the moment, then get rid of just have FINA A qualifying times. Get rid of the crazy hard times. Like why?
Don't copy America though. America don't take their best swimmers in the 50 fly. Don't copy America.
Exactly. Like it's just, yeah, it's
everyone's got their problems.
Like
everyone's got their way to do it, you know. But
everyone has. Yeah.
But in this case, we've just gone through the US trials, and we're talking about a US specific situation where, you know, I think, look, again, both Australia and the US, I think it's time we started to look at swimming as a professional vocation, right? Like where athletes are putting their life on hold to say, I want to be a professional athlete. I want to represent my country. I want to represent my family, myself. I want to be the best I can. I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to hit standards. And we're taking these opportunities away from people that are really putting everything into being the best they can. If you win a national championship, to me, it's like that should be good enough to say, hey, you know what? I'm good enough to go. If I make this standard that FINA sets, I agree with that. But it should be Australia should say that's good enough for us, and then the US should say that's good enough for us. But I just think we need to really make it more professional swimming instead of taking these opportunities away from people that are putting so much time and effort into being professional swimmers, you know?
Yeah, you just want to see the best. You want to see the best in the world at the biggest events, and we're not getting that. And I think there's going to be some repercussions for that, I hope, as well, at all levels. Can we also just World Championships coming up in Fukuoka in just over 2 weeks' time? Hallelujah. Like the World Championships are back. I can't wait, because what they did last year in Budapest was obviously a stopgap. It was a last-minute thing. They wrangled together, mostly for the US because they didn't have a major international meet. What they're going to have in Doha as well is just who knows what that actually will be in the end, in the wash-up, a World Championships there. You know, they've got 4 World Championships in 4 years, and I know with World Swimming, the blowout from COVID and contractual obligations with host cities and things like that as well. But just so excited to get a proper World Championships back on in Fukuoka and a real good litmus test for Paris coming up next year.
And absolutely. That's all, you know, I can feel like how passionate we are about swimming and about this sport and athletes. And that's all you want to see. You want to see the best athletes on the best stage, and you want to see them absolutely shine. And I think that's why we care, and that's why we debate this stuff, is because we care and we're so passionate about swimming and the sport. And that's all it comes down to, is like care and absolutely seeing, you know, the best of the best, but fair as well. You know what if fair level playing field. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we lost the ISL, you know, like war took that away from us, right? Like we lost this opportunity where these athletes get more than just sitting around and hoping that their nation will pick them if they're the best in their country, right? Like it's like, hey, come and represent on this world stage. We'll put cameras on you. We'll put you in a great team of other professionals, and that's gone now. So it's like, to continue to strip away these opportunities for these guys and girls to represent, it's just we're not moving forward with our sport. It's like we're stuck in this old age thinking, and we've got to move beyond that now. You know, we've got to give more opportunities, not take these things away. So that's my argument.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've got the World Cups this year. We've got three World Cups, I think, in total, just 3 legs. The multi-class swimming, the disability, they have a World Series. They've got 12 legs in their World Series. And athletics, the Diamond League, I think it's about 15 or 16 legs around the world for Diamond League as well. So, and we can talk about Swim League, and, you know, I worked for them as well, whatever. Regardless, there's a gap there in that program that needs to be filled. And 3 World Cups isn't good enough.
Yeah.
It needs to be something, and they know it. And I'm like, here's hoping World Swimming can put something together, especially off the back of Paris, because we need to link them up. You link Australian trials into US trials, into what's happening in Europe, into a World Championships, into the next event, and it just keeps feeding each other and feeding the media, and we talk about it, and content creates content, and it continues to build. That's the only way we're going to get eyeballs, on the sport and get people excited. Like, why do people that know nothing about swimming, like, why should they care? Like, this is why, we're here. We want to make you care. We're passionate about it. We want to tell you why we want, 50 form strokes and that's another reason to put the 50 form strokes in the Olympics as well. It's going to make you more excited. It's going to make you care more. And I think moving forward, these are priorities for World Aquatics for sure.
Yeah. Well, listen, this is cool. Huh?
Sorry, one more thing. Like, imagine explaining to someone who knew nothing about swimming, right? And they're watching swimming for the first time at the Olympics, and they're like, why do they only swim the 50 freestyle, and why is there no other form strokes? And no one can really answer that like quickly. And like, imagine trying to explain that to someone. We don't know, and this is why. Like, why do they not have form strokes? Like, that's a legitimate question. And someone watching swimming who only, there's heaps of people in Australia that only watch swimming every 4 years for Commonwealth Games or Olympics. And so I'm sure that's a legitimate question. So, yeah. Yeah,
well, listen, the most successful reality TV shows are successful because they have a little drama, right? That's why they're successful at the end of the day. They have a little drama. So why are we doing this? Why are we talking about Caeleb Dressel? Why are we talking about USA Swimming? Why are we talking about Michael Andrew? Because we need a little drama, right? Like, we're talking about it. There's a little drama in there. It's exciting. Swimming is ultimately fairly boring, right? Like, it's not that exciting. So, yeah, we throw a little spice in there. We throw a little drama in, and it gets everybody talking, gets everybody interested. Yeah, that's right. And then, we're talking about swimming now. Like, look, we've got 116 people here just listening to us ramble about swimming right now. So, like, if it was boring and we didn't have an opinion and we weren't kind of throwing ourselves out there, nobody would be listening. But we appreciate the people that are here, the ones that are listening. Kurt, you've been outstanding. Megs, you've been incredible, coming from all different parts of the world. So it's kind of been fun throwing this thing together, slapping it together. Appreciate your preparedness and putting things together and throwing yourselves out there as well. You two need to get a gig, a real gig, commentating swimming. So if anyone's out there listening, these guys are available. They're good at what they do. They know the sport. Yeah. So, like, let's get these two hired.
I've got to plug my Euro under 23s on next month in Dublin as well. So looking forward to working for European swimming there. And like I said, we're going to get the party started for there. But before that, I hope we can do some more of these for World Championships because, like I said, off the back of Worlds last year, which was half-hearted, and this is the big show. This is a proper Worlds. It's everyone's up for it, and I can't wait to see the best swimmers in the world, apart from Michael Andrew, go head to head.
Yeah, well, listen.
It's nice listening to people talk about swimming when you know swimming. It's so nice when you debate about swimming and you've got other people that are very, very good at it as well. Also.
Yeah, we're throwing our opinions out there. And we know we're not going to agree with everything, and maybe sometimes we say things just to get you riled up. But hey, it's better that way. It's better than not talking about swimming, I think. So I'd rather throw myself out there and take a little heat. Kurt, you're never going to get a gig with World Athletics. That's for damn sure. If you keep wearing that shirt.
No, he's not going to get breakdancing. That's for sure.
Sorry, breakdancers.
Yeah. All right. Peace, guys. Thanks. It was awesome.
Yeah, I'll see you at Worlds.
See you at Worlds.